Hey guys, here for another week's dev update. So on Oxen Core, we primarily worked on Wallet 3 again. That involved mostly working on transaction creation this week and also linking Wallet 3 up to an Oxen daemon as well, so it can kind of create a view-only wallet from that, because before we were kind of directly reading from a database. On the transaction creation side, it's actually one of the more complex parts of the Monero code base and also the Oxen code base too. You have to bring in decoys, like decoys that you actually use as mix-in for your transactions, and the way that you select those is kind of a little bit tricky right now. So we're trying to extensively document the process we're going through there to make it more clear how everything works together. On Lokinet, there wasn't too much work this week. Most of the Lokinet developers were working on the session open group server, but we did publish, I think it's 0.9.8, which is an upgrade for Linux, service nodes mainly, or Lokinet clients that are running on Linux. That has the two patches that I talked about last week, a performance increase and also a latency or a jitter increase as well, or a decrease in this sense. So if you have a service node, make sure you're upgrading to Lokinet 0.9.8. It's not a mandatory thing, but it will improve the performance of the network. So yeah, if you have a service node, pull the most recent packages from the dev repo, or install, build from source if you want to as well. On session, we primarily continued our focus on webRTC calls. So we've been working on that for probably a few months now. It's kind of nearing the final stages. We're doing internal testing a lot now. So we've got all of the internal session staff using session to call each other, and also some of the marketing staff are jumping on now as well and trying to call each other and seeing how it goes. So really shouldn't be too much longer before we actually have a release out to public. So I won't say an exact date right now because I don't want to tie myself to that date, but it's getting really close now. We're just kind of ironing out the final features. And we also worked on an integration testing framework as well for desktop, which will help us catch more regressions in session desktop. That's called Playwright, and one of our QAs is working on that. The final thing to talk about would be the session open group server. So we've been experiencing, or some session open group server operators have been experiencing a bit of spam in their groups, and also it's leaking out into DMs as well for people who join those groups and send messages. So we're looking at ways to be able to combat that, including authentication when you join a server. So having to solve a mathematics problem or a CAPTCHA when you join a server that can be set up by the session open group operator. And then also some limitations on how many direct messages you can receive as well. Kind of counting those as spam if there's too many received in a short period of time. And then the final kind of thing we're working on is making a disconnection between the session ID you use when you join a session open group server and your actual session ID. So you receive less spam to your direct messages when you join and start messaging in an open group server, which is something that's been happening on and off throughout the existence of session. So yeah, I think that just about wraps everything up. So thanks guys for listening.